Some people will tell you diesel has had its day, but if you drive the car behind me, you're going to think otherwise. Because the car behind me is the new Audi S6. It's a faster, sportier version of the A6, but not quite as fast or sporty as the Audi RS6. The S6 has been around since 1994, but this one represents the most significant ideological shift for the model in its 25-year history. Before we go any further, have you subscribed to the CarGurus YouTube channel yet? We post new and used car reviews, helping you to work out which car is right for you. Go on, tap that subscribe button. That big ideological shift is found here underneath the bonnet, because for the first time, the Audi S6 uses a diesel rather than a petrol engine. That creates some clear air between the S6 and the RS6. It means they're quite different cars. They serve very different purposes, and they no longer tread on one another's toes. While the range-topping RS6 is the out-and-out performance model, this S6 majors more on luxury, refinement, long-distance usability, and to some extent, fuel efficiency. Audi says you'll get 36 miles per gallon combined, which is far more than you'd see in any previous S6. The range between fill-ups is more than 600 miles. Those are the benefits of switching to diesel. The engine is a 3-litre V6 with a single turbocharger. It develops 344 brake horsepower and a massive 516 pounds-foot of torque. So it's got much less power than the previous S6, but way more torque. The turbocharger uses an electrically powered compressor. That's a new technology that supposedly eliminates turbo lag. Now, this car also has a 48-volt mild hybrid system that recoups energy under braking and uses an electric motor to assist the engine under acceleration. It's not a full EV though, so this car doesn't have an electric-only mode. With an 8-speed automatic gearbox and permanent 4-wheel drive, the S6 will hustle its way to 62 miles per hour in 5.1 seconds and run on to 155. I can't not mention this. Have a look at these exhaust tips, which are completely fake. The cabin, meanwhile, is exceptional. If you're going to bet on any mainstream manufacturer to deliver a show-stopping cabin, it's almost got to be Audi, hasn't it? It's not opulent like a Mercedes-Benz interior. It's cool though, it's clinical, it's almost surgical. This here is straight out of an operating theatre. It's the difference between a cosy country pub and a cool, trendy gin bar. Meanwhile, the quality is exceptional as well. The materials all feel plush and expensive, and the build quality is just so solid. Audi's latest touchscreen-based infotainment system is brilliant too. There's no longer a rotary wheel for scrolling through the menus, but the touchscreen interface is very clear and easy to navigate. When you press the screen firmly enough, you feel a little haptic buzz to let you know the screen has responded. That means you can't accidentally brush a finger across the screen and press the wrong button. Then there's a second digital screen down here for all the ventilation controls and a couple of other bits and pieces. Now, I always prefer a rotary knob for the temperature adjustment when you're on the go. It's just easier to use, but these buttons actually, they're pretty big. They're pretty straightforward. The graphics are all beautifully rendered up on this screen as well. Of course, this car comes loaded with kit. I've got this configurable virtual cockpit, they call it, digital display right in front of me. You've got phone connectivity, you've got various driving modes, lots and lots of safety equipment, 4-zone climate control. It just comes stacked with stuff. This particular car has got what Audi calls the Comfort and Sound Pack. It costs £1,895. It includes the excellent Bang & Olufsen stereo, the 360-degree parking cameras, and multicoloured LED interior lighting as well. So what's this Audi S6 actually like to drive? First thing to say is, it looks like a very big, very grand and imposing machine, but it's not enormous. It's about the same size as a BMW 5 Series, so it's a sizable car, but it's not massive, and that means that it's not particularly intimidating or stressful to drive through a busy city. You can get rear-wheel steering on these cars to make it a little bit more maneuverable. This car doesn't have it, and frankly, I don't think it really misses it. The ride quality is very good. It's not quite limousine smooth. It's not quite beautifully settled like you'd expect from a bigger saloon car. You can get optional air springs on certain versions of the S6. This one doesn't have them. This car is also on enormous 21-inch wheels. So given that it's on standard coil springs on those enormous wheels, the ride quality, I have to say, is pretty impressive. Meanwhile, motorway refinement, it's calm, it's very serene, it's a relaxing, quiet place in which to sit on the motorway. That level of comfort and refinement, plus the strong performance, makes the S6 a very effective four-door Grand Tourer. Yep, it really does feel like a GT car. The engine is really interesting. So it's a 3-litre V6 diesel, as we know, but it's so strong, it's so muscular. When you're just driving around normally, you're sort of faintly aware of it being there, but it's a refined unit. It's not rattly and clattery like lots of diesels are. I'm sure there's some augmentation going on through the speakers, but it actually sounds like a big rumbly V8. It's actually pretty decent to listen to. And then it's got a massive shove. It's a diesel, so it doesn't spin out with any real energy to the red line, but it's got this massive, very meaty mid-range, so you get a good thump of acceleration. It's a good, responsive, turbocharged engine as well. There's a tiny hesitation, but when you put your foot down, there's just the briefest pause, and then the car starts to pull away. The 8-speed automatic gearbox is very good as well. It's not a dual clutch item, which means it's buttery smooth, which really suits the character of this car. And of course, you can take control of it yourself as well, and then it's pretty responsive. A transmission that's just so well suited to the engine. As well as being fast and luxurious, the S6 is even pretty decent to drive. So stick it into dynamic mode, and that's when it starts to feel less like a big saloon car and more like something smaller, lighter, and sportier. Now, big Audis, even the performance models, they haven't always been particularly impressive to drive once the road gets a little bit twisty. This one, though, is very good. This is a 2-ton car, so I'm not going to pretend for a moment that it feels like a BMW M3, it just doesn't. But there's really good body control. There's a degree of agility that actually does mean you can stick it into a few bends and it doesn't feel like a boat. There's Quattro permanent 4-wheel drive as well, so of course you've got really good traction. You can just foot down away from a corner and let the 4-wheel drive system deal with all that torque. And the steering, meanwhile, some even recent Audi steering systems have felt a bit disjointed, a bit disconnected and inconsistent. This isn't one of them. It really allows you to position the car exactly where you want to. No, this thing is never exciting to drive, but it is very impressive. The S6 Saloon starts from a little over £60,000. Prefer an estate? No problem. Audi builds the S6 Avant as well. This is a car that knows exactly what it's trying to be. For me, the switch to a diesel engine was an inspired move. This is the most convincing S6 yet. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, comment below, and remember, cargurus.co.uk to find a great deal on your next car from a top-rated dealer.